All right, we are live. So, thank you so much again, Amber, for joining me today. This is my good friend Amber Woodard with the Credit Couple, and she has just all kinds of things going on. But I just absolutely love your heart of a teacher that you have, and it's so much like me. We just want to do so much and help so many that we're doing it, and it's a lot. So first of all, it starts with credit. Like, your company's name is the Credit Couple, and today we're going to talk about credit tips and misconceptions. But I just want to, in my introduction to you, Amber, I want to let people know, like, a little bit more about what you do, not other than just credit. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, and what are you and your husband doing over there?
Okay. Well, we are former teachers, so that's kind of the base of everything. That's kind of what got us into this. I know I've mentioned to you before that we went back to school for cybersecurity because we wanted to get rich. We just wanted a yacht, and we hated it. There is for us, it just didn't do my heart good to sit in a cubicle. Um, we had more than poor credit. We were close to the 300s in credit. Um, we struggled financially all the time. It was always, robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's how we lived our lives.
We've all
And
been
so,
there. We've all been there.
oh
I One of the things I love about you and why I think we are so aligned is that I put my stuff out there too. And life happens and people don't realize. They look at some people who are at a higher level and think they just got it made. Well, like, we have worked our butts off to get here. And I'm willing to tell everybody about all my things. And so that's why we're even doing this call, is because I wanted to start making my money work for me this year instead of just seeing it come and go through my bank account. Like, as quick as I get it, it's gone. So
mhm,
yeah. Anyway, we've all
definitely.
been there. So
Yeah, and we kind of first thing that happened was we were trying to buy a house, and we needed just a few points. And I thought, well, I'm smart. I'm going to jump on Credit Karma, and I'm going to dispute everything. All of it was legitimately mine, but I'm going to dispute everything. So we did for both Juan and I. I think we were sitting in the 620s. We needed to get up to about 640. Our credit score shot up to about between 730 and 750 quickly within months, and then back down to 403 and 405 about a month or two later. So we learned really fast how not to fix your credit. And we kind of gave up. I mean, just being really honest, I said, you know what, we're going to get into an apartment. This was before they had, everybody has to have a 620 to get into the apartment. And this is going to be our lives. I'm not playing this game anymore. I lost,
aw,
um,
yeah.
we ended up running into someone who really told me that there's a lot of education that goes into credit, that it's not, it is a game, and it is something that you have to be able to play. And that kind of sparked my interest. So we actually ended up getting into fixing our credit and helping people with their credit part-time, which led to a whole business. So now our platform is definitely first and foremost helping people repair their credit, but we're also doing a huge educational piece. We want everyone to understand their credit. When my clients leave me, if they have trouble in the future, they can always come back to me, but I want them to have the tools they need to know how to not get in trouble and to know how to build their credit score up. If they leave me with a 700, I want them to have an 850 a few years later. I want them to keep building. I want to give them those tools. Doing the credit led us into taxes. All of our clients have to have their taxes prepared, and
Right.
they've come to trust us. So they were coming to us and asking if we could do this. Well, why not? Why don't we learn? And we did. It led us into a student loan business, which I'm sure we'll hit up in a future podcast. I can bring some more
Yeah,
information there.
definitely. Because we've talked
Um,
about it in the past, but so many people I know have student loans, and there's so much to
mhm.
that. So we'll do a whole webinar on just student loans.
Oh,
But
yeah, and that's coming up quickly, because if they go back into repayment in August at the latest, if you haven't figured something out, you're going to be put on that high repayment plan. They're putting
let's do
everyone
that
back.
next
So
month. So we'll make that be our June.
There we go.
call.
That's probably perfect timing.
Yeah, it is.
Um, so that kind of, I mean, it's just kind of snowballed from there. Whatever we find that our clients overwhelmingly need, we're going to either try to find the correct resource for them, or we want to become the resource for them if we can't. You know, with the student loans, it was just the student loan places were shady. They were weird. They were
Well, and it's that
charging
way
us
with
a lot.
everything. It's that way with the credit repair. It's that way with the tax people when you need help with the IRS. Like I have found that it's all about finding someone that you can trust. This is why I really I like have this vision of this group that I work with and refer people to, and I absolutely love you. And I'm so grateful that we found each other. So I'm happy that you're doing all this stuff to help all my clients get get their act together.
Well, and hey, I've had to get my act together too. So, and
Right.
I'm not, I'm definitely not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. The thing is once you have that education, you're able to recover. And if
Exactly.
you have
Love it.
someone that you can go to and get information from that you trust, and we're about to go into, I'm going to mention a lot today that these things you see on social media, they seem great. And the people that tell you seem educated and they're reading a script
Yeah, I
and they have,
know. It's so sad.
it's just not helpful. And to be able to have people in your circle that you can trust is huge. It's definitely huge. And that's kind of, like I said, that's kind of a big part of today is I'm going to go in and through a lot of the misconceptions that people have about credit, and especially with social media, a lot of the quick fixes and things that are going around that just, there's nothing quick with credit. There's no,
Yeah.
there's no quick fix. So just kind of go into some of that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and let you share your screen now, and I'll add this and we'll just get started. There we go.
Right. All right. So this is just, I think some of our information comes up on there. This is just to get you guys a little bit of the information that we have. People can always contact us by phone. Our website is up there as well. You can always book a consultation on there. The screen says our basic credit boot camp. I do want to put out there that we do live boot camps from time to time, but currently on our Facebook page, you can get a recording of a shortened version of our boot camp anytime. Free for everyone. Just click the link and it'll get you I think it's about 15-20 minutes of our condensed boot camp. So like I said, I'm just going to jump right in with kind of the good stuff, I guess, or maybe it's the bad stuff. Either way, it's the misconceptions that people have about their credit. The first one I've got here is medical bills. And I want to go over two things with medical bills. One of them is not really a misconception, but I do kind of want to give an update on what's going on with this medical bills not showing up on credit. But the first thing I want to talk about is, and I know this has happened to somebody out here, you go and you're trying to buy a house and you talk to a lender and the lender says, I'm not worried about your medical bills. I don't care about your medical bills. I'm not worried about them. They don't matter for me. And so a lot of people call me and they say, well, my credit score is low, but when you're buying a house, your medical bills don't matter. And that is a big misconception. The lender is not wrong. The lender is saying, when I calculate your debt to income, when I'm figuring out how much house you can get, I don't count your medical bills. So if you owe $20,000 in medical bills, I don't care. It doesn't count to your debt to income. But when you're looking at a credit score, there is no calculation on the medical or on the mortgage versions of credit scores that discounts medical bills. If that medical bill is on there, it's hurting your credit score no matter which FICO score you're looking at, and it does matter. So it's not that the lender is wrong. The lender is telling you from their standpoint, they don't care. Debt to income, amount of house you can get, they don't care. But when I'm looking at your credit and trying to get your credit approved or ready to be approved to get a house, those medical bills definitely count in your credit score. If it's just medical bills keeping your score at 550, your score is still 550. The other thing I want to say about medical bills here is I think most people know that it was last year, any medical bills that are paid off no longer show up on credit. So if the medical bill is paid or if it's settled to where they put it in a zero, with the credit bureaus, it no longer shows up on your credit. And that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Um, it really has been for a lot of people. A lot of people had these huge bills that went to collection because most of the time you don't even know you have a medical bill until it hits collections. And they were having these issues of it still being on there even after they paid it off. Another thing that is supposed to be happening, and they said early 2023, but I mean, as you can tell, at least mid 2023 almost now.
Yeah.
Medical bills under $500 will be taken off credit reports. So this is like when you went to the lab and you got your blood drawn and you got that $8 bill that you didn't even know your insurance didn't cover. And now you have, and I really see these on credit, $11, $7. Those are going to be gone.
When does that happen?
They're saying July now. They said early 2023, but I feel like it's no longer early 2023. So the latest I've heard is July. And another thing that's happening with medical bills is they can't put those on your credit now for a year. It used to be 6 months. Now they have to give you a year to pay that before they can put it on your credit report. So that's going to make a big difference as well. Moving on to the next thing, we have paying collections and charge-offs. We've recently on our business pages done a few on these because it happens every year. It's the worst year in tax season. I get a call and somebody says, hey, I need help with my credit, but I just paid off all of my collections. Or I just spent my entire $10,000 tax return paying off these charge-offs. And I get the pleasure of being the bearer of bad news that when they paid all of those off, unless they were medical, it doesn't help their credit score. And now it's going to be a lot harder for me to get that deleted. Because in paying it, they've admitted the debt. They've basically verified that they own the debt. So it makes it very difficult to remove. Now, when you pay off collections, like I said, medical bills will go away. And I'm sure everyone has heard on social media, it gets big sometimes, pay for delete. Have you heard pay for delete before? That you can do a pay for delete? So a pay for delete, and it used to be a huge thing, and people still think it is a huge thing, is that you call the creditor or the collection agency and you offer it to pay it in exchange for them deleting it completely from your credit report.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I have never seen an original creditor, so a charge-off. If y'all remember what we talked about last time, a charge-off is when it's with the original creditor. I've never seen them do a pay for delete, ever. It's just not something that's common. As far as collections, now before COVID, before the medical thing hit, before everything, there was a list of, there are literally thousands of collection agencies, and there was a list of probably 100 of them that were known to do pay for deletes in certain situations. That list is probably down to 20, if that. I only have about 4 or 5 that I will tell a client that one will do a pay for delete because most of them won't. So when you call them and you work out all this stuff and then you say, I want to pay for delete, they say, we don't do that, but you just verified the account. So it's stuck on your credit now. So it's kind of one of those things you have to be very, very careful. We do a lot with our clients. I'll go through and I'll say, okay, this one and this one, if you pay them, it's likely to get deleted. The rest of these won't. Sometimes I have to tell people none of these are going to delete it, even if you pay it. So don't waste your money. Don't start calling these places, asking for pay for deletes or paying these. It's not going to help you. And I know a lot of people say, well, on Credit Karma, it says my score will go up 26 points if I pay this collection off. And they're absolutely right. I think we went over this last time too. Credit Karma is not lying. They're definitely not lying to you. Your Vantage score is going to go up 26 points or approximately, because Vantage scoring models, if you remember, they disregard paid off collections. If it says 0 on there, it does not factor into your credit score at all. But FICO, if it says 0, it might as well say 2000. It's the same thing. So your FICO score isn't going anywhere. And for most of us, FICO is what you really want to worry about having a high score with anyway. So don't pay off your collections and charge-offs. Most often, any of them, it's going to do you much more good to get them deleted. Here is another one that kind of goes along with that. Calling all your creditors, talking payment plans. Same thing. If you call that creditor and you say, hey, I have this debt and I can't pay it all, but I want to get it paid off. Well, number one, when they're talking about the statute of limitations for items to fall off your credit report, they're talking from the last date there was a change. So a change would be like when you stopped paying. So if you stopped paying on something today, May of 2023, that's going to be your date that 7.5 years later, it will fall off. But if I get on a payment plan and I pay on this for the next 4 years and they don't delete it from my credit report when I'm done, 4 years is when that last change happened. So I've just added 4 years onto how long that stays on my credit report. So in most cases, don't talk payment plans. In almost every case, I very rarely tell someone to talk to a creditor. In almost every case, I'm going to tell them, do not speak to any of these people. They are not on your team. They are not trying to help you. So calling and talking payment plans is generally not a good idea. We just talked about pay for delete. Again, it's rare now. Very rare. I have very few that I suggest to my clients that will do that. Paying off your cards monthly. We talked about utilization last time. So utilization is the use on your credit card. And we talked about how that only gets turned into the credit bureaus on your statement date. So it's very important to know that statement or reporting date. If you're paying off your credit cards monthly, you're going to do one of two things. Number one, you're going to run that balance up and it's going to be high on your statement date, and then you pay it to zero on your due date, and it doesn't matter because they still reported a very high balance to the credit bureaus. Or you're going to pay it off on the or right before the statement date, and you're going to report a zero balance, which you don't want to do. So paying off your cards monthly, not a great idea. Remember, when you're paying off your cards, you want to pay them down to $10, $15, $20 a few days before the statement date. I promise you that interest is not going to kill you, but the lower credit score might. So pay it down to, between $10 and $20. If you have a large limit, it can be higher than that. But if you don't want to pay a lot of interest, just make sure you're reporting some use every month on the statement date. Here's a big one. This one is really counterintuitive, and it really hurts a lot of people, especially when they're going in to buy a home. If you pay off a loan or a vehicle or any type of installment credit, personal loan, or you had your furniture financed with Cons or another furniture place, when you pay those off, your credit score is almost always going to drop. It's been about 1.5 years since I paid off a small, like $2,000 personal loan, and my score dropped 23 points. You're closing out that installment credit. That you no longer have that open line of credit. So although you did what you were supposed to, and you paid off that loan, it's hurting you. Now, we do work with a lot of people, especially with mortgages. Let's say that you've got a car and you owe, your payment's high and you owe 1.5 years on your car. And you want to pay it off. It's hurting your debt to income, whatever's going on. It is actually with mortgages. If you have it paid to where you owe less than 10 months, it will not count into your debt to income. So we can usually work with your lender to get you to pay down the exact amount you need to pay down on that car to get it under that 10 months and not make it count on your mortgage, but on your debt to income, but still have that showing as open so it doesn't hurt your credit score when it comes off. I've had people go in and ask to put money on the end of a personal loan just to keep it open until they bought their house, just because we don't want that to close out before they go in and make that big purchase. So paying off your loans and vehicles, I know you feel like you did a great thing, and you did, but it is going to actually hurt your credit score. We usually have people replace it a little bit before one gets paid off so that it balances out. So if you're paying off a vehicle, we might have you go get a personal loan. I'm not going to tell you to go buy another vehicle. I don't like it.
This is just overwhelming. Like there's so many things like even I just don't know. I mean, I just pay my bills, but
And
it's
paying your bills, it's so funny. Yes, if you pay your bills consistently and have credit cards and have open installment loans and have a mortgage and you pay your stuff consistently without fail for 15 years, you're going to have a good credit score. But you can't just have a 600 score right now and continue to pay out your bills on time and expect your credit score to go up. You have to make moves.
yeah, I love it. It's like a game. It's just a game that you know how
Yep.
to play because you figured it out. It was interesting. It got your attention. So many people just give up on it and they're like, yeah, just so you know, I don't know. It just depends on what your goals are. So,
Yeah,
all
and
right,
it's a lot to keep up with.
it
If
is.
this wasn't a business, trust me, I wouldn't want to know. I just want someone to tell me what moves to make. I don't want to know about the game. Um, so the zero balances on cards, we kind of already went over that. Having all of your cards reporting a 0, 20-point loss on your credit score. You never want all your cards reporting at 0. The other things, and I think I mentioned this last time, the economy is bad right now. And this happens anytime, but it happens more when the economy is bad. If you leave a card at 0, they're going to do one of two things. Number one, they're going to cut that card off completely. They're just going to shut it down. Or number two, they're going to severely lower your limit. My mom's JCPenney card, not too long ago, because she never used it, her limit went from like 2,500 to 500. Well, that makes a big difference in your utilization if you've got some other cards with a higher balance. So make sure you're using your cards. Put them in rotation once you have them paid down and use them for something. Every time you go buy gas, use one of your cards and then put that one on the back of the stack and use the next one next time. Find your pattern, but you may need to make sure that you're using your cards or you'll lose them. Another thing that I have seen happening a lot recently because of the economy is people are calling me and they're saying I just paid $2,000 on my Capital One card and they lowered my limit as soon as I made the payment. So now I'm maxed out again. This is happening a lot. And this is also with the economy. What they're doing is they're soft pulling people's credit, especially if you've been carrying a high balance for a while. If your credit doesn't look good, they're lowering your balance as you lowering your limit as you lower your balance.
Yeah.
So that's been rampant lately. That's a few calls a week on that. I did want to mention here, credit sweeps or other fast credit repair. We see it a lot. We've actually seen people call credit sweeps. Excuse me. Credit sweeps are illegal and they're going to get caught and everything's going to come back on your score. You cannot wipe everything from your credit report and start over again. It's like people selling the CPNs. Yes, you can buy a fake social security number and it looks great and it might get you into an apartment. They don't check that deep, but you can't go buy a house. That's illegal. You're not going to be able to go buy a car. You're not going to be able to interact with a banking institution with your CPN or your swept credit. And we also see a lot of, 750 in 90 days, or we'll get you 100 points in the next 30 days. And just coming from someone who works with this all the time. And if I was working with my best friend or my mom or my dog, I couldn't guarantee them that kind of increase. And in fact, it's illegal for me to guarantee that kind of increase because it's so up in the air. I cannot guarantee much of anything. I can guarantee you, me personally, I say you go through my program for 6 months. If we don't get anything deleted, I'm going to give you all of your money back. Every last dime. Because to me, if I haven't done anything in 6 months, number one, you deserve your money back. And number two, I wasn't doing my job. But other than that, we really cannot guarantee any specific score or time frame or anything Number one, it's illegal. Number two, we don't know. We don't.
Just your
Uh,
guidance alone is amazing. Like, just to be able to have someone, if that's something you're working on, to get into a house, then you being able to pull it, look at it, work on it for 6 months, like, that's huge. So,
oh, we had a client. Well, we have a client from 2 years ago contacted me last night, and he was like, Amber, I'm trying to buy a house. I close on the 24th, and I just had a collection show up. What do we do? This is not my client anymore. He's been out of our program for at least 2 years. And man, we got it talked through. We looked at his credit. It didn't cost him anything because he already had a credit monitoring, and we looked at everything. We got him all figured out. He needed to make a couple of little changes. He's going to have his 620 before the 24th. And that's the really cool part. Like, I helped him 2 years ago get into an apartment. I helped him get his new car. And now, like, 2 years later, he contacts me and he's like, I need your help one more time. I'm trying to get into my house. So I've seen this guy go from a 400 score where he felt like he was doomed to now, a few years later, he's getting into a house and he's getting everything he wanted.
and I love that. It literally just takes intention. Set some goals, set some intentions, stick to it. And
Remember them even when the going is hard, or
yeah,
when you buy something that you shouldn't be buying. Yeah, it's definitely about just remembering your goals all the time. Write them on
awesome.
your refrigerator. Make that vision board. All right, so building credit, and this was hard to see. I didn't realize it was so hard to see. I always tell people, even if I could delete all the negatives from your credit score or from your credit report, you're not going to have a great score. It'll be better than it was most of the time, but it's not going to be great. And in fact, sometimes when we delete things, like if we delete an old student loan and they're not doing anything to build credit, their score will drop. I just deleted 30 late payments from this old student loan, but you don't have any positive credit. Building credit is, and I said it here, but it's really true. It's just as important as getting your credit repaired. You will never have great credit without positive credit because it's a game. So you have to have both tops we talked about before, that revolving your credit cards and the installment, which is loans, mortgages, autos, to really build. And I mean, if you don't have any extra positive payments going in, what's going to change? If you don't have good payment history going in, if the lender can't see how you handle cards and loans in 2022 or 23, how do they know how you're going to do with a house in 24? They might can see what you used to do with cards back in 2018, but they need to know what you're doing now. I did add on here, if you're going to buy a house or even a car, be careful adding trade lines. You don't even want to go and open up 3 new credit cards 2 weeks before you buy a new car. I mean, and we're talking 6 months if you're buying a house. So it's very important to be careful what trade lines you're adding. I can sneak in some things. Like if somebody just needs a little boost on the revolving, I can usually kick in a kickoff account or something without the lender going, wait a minute, why did you do this? But I can't tell you to go get a personal loan 2 months before you buy a house. We have to have all that done before. And that's why I always tell people, if you're going to buy a house, come to me, come to a lender at least 6-8 months before. Let's figure out what's going on. I always said here, always consult with a professional before adding positive credit. I always tell my clients, if you get a credit card offer, send me a picture. We'll go over it. We'll look at the timing, your credit, and the offer. I mean, a lot of people are getting credit card offers that by the time they get that credit card, the fees have eaten the card. So it doesn't make sense. So always consult with someone before adding positive credit. We offer on our website, we have a ton of credit builders, both installment and revolving. I mean, we've even gone as far as we've linked up with someone doing auto loans for people with less than perfect credit. That way you're not going to the dealership and they're not running Toyota and Capital One and Truist. This place will only run companies that will work with your credit score. So it makes a big difference. So if you're looking to build credit, you can't even see it here, But it is thecreditcouple.net. And click on our credit building links. If you want to send us a message or a text and just say, hey, this is my situation, is this a good idea? We're always willing to answer those too. All right, this is more about credit cards. So we're talking about building credit. I put one of my favorite secured cards here. It's the Discover It. If you don't know what a secured card is, so an unsecured credit card is your normal credit card. You apply for credit, they send you a card, it's got a limit, you go spend it, you pay it back over time. A secured card is when the creditor says, I don't know if I trust you. You don't have a lot to show me that you deserve my trust. So I'm going to give you conditional trust. You send me $200. I'm going to put it on this card. And now you can go spend it. If you do really good with this card for X amount of time, I'm going to give you your $200 back and up your limit. But now I know that if you go and spend $200 on that card and you never pay it, I'm covered. I got your $200 you sitting up front. So you're securing it with a deposit. Discover It is a great secured card for so many reasons. It turns unsecured within a year. It does cash back. It doubles your cash back for the first year. You get all the perks of a Discover It card before you even have an unsecured card, but they are picky. There will be people denied. I have secured cards that you will not be denied for. They're on my website. I also have a few others, depending on where you are in your credit journey. If you're sitting with a 620 credit score, we don't need to look at secured cards. We need to look at other options depending on what your profile looks like. So another thing that we do is we help our clients kind of find the correct credit cards for them, depending on, number one, their goals. If someone's looking to have an 850 credit score and do big things with their business credit, I'm not going to put them on a low tier card. If someone's looking to show revolving credit just to get into a home, definitely let's throw on one of our lower tier cards and get your credit built up. So we're going to look at your situation every time. Some things about credit cards, back to the social media thing. Everybody's been hearing 15-3. Pay half your payment 15 days before the due date. Pay the other half 3 days before the due date. What they don't tell you is this method is only good while your credit cards have a high balance. So if you come to me and your credit card balances, they're almost maxed out or they are maxed out, the first thing I'm going to tell you is, number one, you need to make a big payment and get yourself under the limit because you're getting an extra hit on your credit just for being over the limit and probably an extra fee from the company. But then the 15-3 method will work while you're paying down your balances. You're encouraged to pay at least half 15 days before, and then as much as you can 3 days before. So if you can make a full payment 3 days before, it's going to go even faster. You're cutting down on interest. You're making the credit card company happy. You're also, with some cards will report twice. They don't all. In fact, I would say most of them don't, but there are some that will report that both of those payments, which increases your positive payments. For my clients who have their credit cards paid down and they're using their credit cards to either build credit, maybe they're using it for points, for their cash back. We use the statement date method. That's where you use whatever you want during the month. 3 days before your statement date, which is not your due date, pay that down to $10 to $20 and then don't use the card for a week. That's because statement dates can change a little bit depending on the weekend and where the weekend falls. We just want to make sure you're safe. So we always tell people, pay it down about 3 days before and then don't use it for a week. That method will keep your credit score, your utilization down, keep your score high. It'll keep your credit card company happy because you're using the card. And really, it's the best way. We have one card that we get good cash back on. We pay almost all of our bills on there. Our statement date on that one is the 2nd. So right at the end of the month, I pay that card off, and then I don't use it again until about the 5th. And I pay all of our bills on it again, and I just rotate because I get great cash back, and I'm getting paid to pay my bills. And that's the point that everyone wants to get to, is to where that credit card is actually working for you. This no memory, I did want to mention this. If you have an emergency, your washer and dryer go out, and you have to go max out your credit card. Your utilization shoots up. You're sitting at 80% utilization now. Your score drops 50 points, your credit score. it's okay. Yes, your score is lower. Yes, you have to get your credit card paid down, but as you pay down that credit card, your score is going to go up and it's going to go up higher. So there is no memory. When they pull your credit, they're not looking at, well, 11 months ago, so and so was maxed out, or they used their credit card for this much 2 months ago. All that matters is what they see on that statement date. So there is no memory there. That's huge for a lot of people, because I know we have a lot of people that get worried because they, I guess things happen. Your refrigerator goes out, you get a flat tire, you never know. 30% encourages debt. So everybody here is on the internet too. Oh, keep your cards under 30%. Well, first of all, the first problem with this, the actual number is 29%. So at 30%, you're actually getting hit on your credit score. You're getting points taken away. 29%, between 10 and 29% is considered okay. I always tell people this is okay for everyday living. Here's the problem. You keep your cards at 30% and you use them a little bit every month. And then you pay them down to 30% again, and you're paying interest on that 30%. So let's say you have a $1,000 card. You're paying interest on $300 a month. So you're paying that interest plus the little bit of extra you spent literally keeps you in debt. Keeping your credit cards between 20 and 29% is exactly where the credit card companies want you. You're not maxed out. You haven't used a lot. So if you stop paying, they're not losing that much money, but they're collecting enough interest off of you to keep themselves afloat, or actually to make themselves rich. So 30%, this between 10 and 30%, that encourages you to stay in debt. If you're there now, don't freak out, but have a plan to get out. You want to keep it between 2 and 9% to have the best credit score, to be able to pay the lowest interest, and to really maximize your benefits. And that's the range where the credit card companies like to give you increases to. All right. And that's about it. If anybody has any questions, please reach out to us. The best way to do it is just to go to our website, click on there, and make a consultation. But we are very willing to help people because the game is hard. It is. It's a lot of information, and it changes all the time. So you just never know.
Yep. Definitely a game for sure. This whole money thing is such a game.
It is. And you can't just kind of fade off. And like I said, just go about your business, because you'll end up needing your credit or anything else at some point and you won't have it.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amber. We are about done here. We're at our time. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to everybody. And we will be back next month with Amber on the second Wednesday of the month. And I guess we're going to be talking about that student loan debt and what are the changes that are happening. You'll know by then where
I
we
hope
stand
so.
with all that, hopefully. So we'll see y'all back next month. Bye.
Thank you.